if you had to. Yeah,
Okay.
you can
That's
do it.
fair.
Yes.
That's fair now.
Yeah.
Right, so we're live now. Let's see. It's kind of low over there.
Is it? It's turned all the way up.
Oh, I don't know. We're just gonna wait a while till 7:30, just for a
Mhm.
couple more people to join.
That's great. You're the boss.
Oh, it's still on. One second.
Good night, guys. Good night, everyone that's coming in. Good night, Dr. Roni.
Hello.
How are you
Glad to see
doing?
you. I'm wonderful. How are you?
That's good. I'm doing good. I heard
Good.
you telling Christina that you were really tired. You did a lot of work today.
Well, that's every day. I don't know whether today's
Oh,
different. It's just a different person, but every day is a busy day for me.
oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I'm like on the front line, but not at the hospital. I'm on front line on the phone and on video and Zooms
Oh,
and
yeah.
phone calls all day, all day. My phone doesn't stop ringing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this pandemic will end soon so we can go
Yeah.
back to some type of normal.
Hopefully so, but we have a lot of work to do before that because the pandemic is going to leave what's called long haulers, who's going to have chronic signs and symptoms even after the virus is gone. So it's never really going to go away. It's going to leave symptoms.
Oh,
Unfortunately, we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of this virus for a very long time.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's rough.
Yep. And one of the things that I don't know how much you know. I'll wait. I'll let you ask me the questions because when I start talking, I just talk. I mean, I just you got to tell me when to stop. So I'll follow. I'll follow your lead.
Alright, one more minute.
So we got one more minute.
Okay.
You just got everyone saying their good nights.
Guys, please share the link. Invite somebody to join us tonight.
It's a beautiful night out here on Martha's Vineyard.
Is it cold?
No, today was so beautiful. I actually went walking. I do what's called walks and talks with Dr. Roni. So if I don't have anyone walking with me, I'll walk with someone on the phone. That way I get to walk, but also I get to still work at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm walking in the community and I'm talking to someone who's, sick on the other end. And it was beautiful because I get to get fresh air and,
That's true.
I
Yeah.
get oxygen while I'm talking to them. And I'm in a better state of mind when I'm walking and talking. It's a beautiful thing because a lot of people, when they talk to me, it's not just a physical problem, but it's an emotional problem and a spiritual problem.
Yeah,
So I,
that's true.
I have to give them my whole self, you
Yep.
know? Yeah. There's no
That's true.
opportunity to be tired.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, guys. Good night. Welcome back to another live
Right.
session with us, Jays with the Maze. So here tonight we have Dr. Ronnie. And basically, how it's going to be set up is if you guys have questions, if you want to call in and ask questions, you can ask. So, as the title of the flyer says, have questions about your health, ask Dr. Ronnie. So we're going to ask Dr. Ronnie any questions that we have,
Yeah.
health related.
Just a little bit that I'm gonna say about Dr. Rani. She she's a distinct. She has a, like, first of all, her distinguished career and unique treatments are recognized as truly life changing, and this has led her into becoming one of the most prominent naturopathic doctors in the country, as well as a leader in detoxification and environmental illness. Her facility up in Martha's Vineyard, called Martha's Vineyard Holistic Care Facility and Heal Therapist. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Ronnie.
Oh, you're doing great. You're
it,
never wrong. Just keep talking.
it allows her the opportunity to treat chronically ill individuals by combining integral wellness and traditional naturopathy principles. Her book, entitled 21 Pounds in 21 Days, which I'm really in need of right now, is a New York Times bestseller. She has been on multiple national TV programs to include Larry King Live, The View, Fox and Friends, Steve Harvey Morning Show, just to name a few. And now she's on Days with the Maze.
Yes.
Welcome, Dr. Rani, and I want to say thank you to the Neil as well for making it possible.
Well, thank you for having me because you have to admit today it is a pleasure for me to also be with you guys because my vision in life is to educate the community about their health, especially in times like this, that we all have to huddle up together and help each other.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
now
that's right.
know that, we got children. And I call them beautiful carriers. But we know that when we have children, they look good, they're very active and happy, and they're eating good. But we also know that if we're not careful, that the beautiful carriers can make their parents sick and can
That's
make their
true.
grandparents sick. So we all have, it's a family thing. It's not just about you or me, it's about the whole family. And we now have to be there for our families because unfortunately, too
Yeah.
many of us is allowing our elderly parents and grandparents to get sick with this virus. So,
That's
to
true.
tell you a little bit about who I am, I've actually worked for the last 40 years in this industry. I started off 40, 35, 40 years ago. I don't know. It doesn't even matter anymore. But I started off as a nurse working at one of the most prominent hospitals in the company, Yale New Haven Hospital. Back then, when I was working, I worked with chronically ill people, especially children. And I worked in an industry called rare syndromes. So I would take care of some of the most rare conditions, like they were shipping babies from research, like a baby would have, the head would be larger than their body. I would have some of the most serious cancers. And it wasn't until I moved to California and I opened up my three care homes in California that I started to realize a lot more was going on in our environment than chronic illness. And that was called environmental illness, which
Mhm.
basically means our environment makes us sick, right? So then after that, I go, now, not just our environment make us sick, because we knew food make us sick. We know that if you have high metals that make you sick, but the environment is making us sick, like Lyme disease. These are some of the
Yeah.
things that we used to, when we were kids, especially when I was a child, my mother we could go outside and play in the yard and she didn't have to worry about us, right? And she would just
Yeah.
yell from the porch, dinner time. And she didn't have to we didn't come in the house and she say strip because I want to look for ticks. There was things like that didn't happen to us.
Yeah, that's true.
Today we can't send our kids outside and say go outside and sit in the grass. Those days are over. So our
Mhm.
environment's making us sick, our food is making us sick, our water is making us sick.
That's true.
Stress is making us sick. So we're living in the world of just constant physical, emotional, spiritual stress, which is causing a lot of illnesses. So, a lot of you are probably wondering, what do we do about a situation like that? There's a lot of things that we can do. When I first started out with that book, I never knew that book, 21 Pounds and 21 Days, will actually allow me to work with some of the most powerful celebrities and politicians in this country. At the time, it was just about 21 pounds in 21 days, right? And
Right.
so you say, okay, well, that's great. Everybody wants to lose 21 pounds in 21 days. But then guess what happens after that? Now you want to know how to heal your kidneys. You want to know, what
Yeah.
about my liver? You want to know about, now I have arthritis and I have lupus and I have high cholesterol and high blood pressure. So now I developed 21 detoxes for 21 chronic illnesses. And
Nice.
that's what allows people from all around the country to start asking me questions about their health. And I'll always say it starts with the basic cleanse, because when you cleanse the body, then guess what? It allows good nutrition to get right to the
Yeah,
cellular level.
Yeah,
that's
It's
that's
not
true.
the
right.
other way around. People for many, many years thought that if they just take a bunch of vitamins and, and herbs. I mean, I've had people that are just herb freaks. They take so many herbs, you wouldn't believe it, but they're still sick. And
Yeah,
so it's literally about cleaning up the body, allowing good blood flow, which is another thing. And with the good blood flow, you everything enters into your body at the cellular level. And then you know what? Miraculously you start getting better. Miraculously you
Oh,
start getting better.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
that's nice.
So, Dr. Ronnie, I know you probably touched on it before, but like, what makes you decide to become a doctor, a naturopathic doctor?
Okay, that's a question that I love, because one of the things, it's a very, or let's say it's an endearing but kind of a sad story. Okay, so I won't go into too much details, but when I was young, as a young registered nurse, and I worked in some of the most prominent hospitals in the country, Cedar Sinai, you name it, and I worked there, Yale, everywhere, but I got sick, and I really got sick. And my friends were, as you must know, were my colleagues, were my nurses and doctor friends, right? But no one could help me. So I remember my daughter, who's now 34, I think 35, I forget. I don't, age is just a number to me, but I remember her being a little baby. And I remember being in the Macy's department store and I lost her. And I didn't lose her. I actually literally forgot I had a baby. It was just the saddest thing, because I knew my friends and my colleagues was telling me that I wasn't well. But you never believe somebody when they say that unless something serious happens, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
So
true.
that's
you go,
true.
well, I don't feel well, but come on, they were exaggerating, but they weren't exaggerating. I was a very sick person. I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s. But anyway, so I specifically remember that one doctor said to me, he was a naturopath, and I by that time I had been, just to make the story very short, I had been to like at least 20 doctors around the country trying to find out what was wrong with me. And I'll tell you what it is when I get at the end of the story. And this doctor actually said to me, he asked me, he spent like 3, 4 hours. First of all, doctors do not spend 3, 4 hours with you. And I think at that particular time was nothing but God, because I mean, he would ask me questions that no one ever asked me, like, what did I eat? And how did I feel when I
Yeah.
ate it? And what do you mean by your eyeballs hurt? Because I told him, I said, my eyeballs hurt. I said, every part of my body hurt, my eyeballs hurt. When I would say that to some of my allopathic doctor friends, they wanted to write me a prescription called Prozac. And I don't know if you guys know what Prozac means,
Mhm.
but that means, okay, she's nuts. All right.
Yeah.
So you hear the story, and I've heard the story hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times with people who have come to me, and I understand the pain and the anger and all of the emotions that go with being really sick for a long period of time, and no one believed you and no one could help you.
Mhm.
So one day, my friend said, I want to send you to a colon therapist. I had no idea what a colon therapist was. I am now a colon therapist. I'm a colonic therapist and I specialize in organ detoxification. But back then I didn't know what that meant. So she sent me to have a colonic. And if you don't know what a colonic is, that means colon cleansing, hydrocolon cleansing, means it cleanses out your colon. And the other thing she sent me to was an herbalist. So I did end up going to an herbalist, but these are not traditional doctors. You have to remember, I'm talking about 30 years ago, guys, 30
Mhm.
years ago.
Yeah.
So, and then I went to this naturopath, and back then, naturopaths were not even thought of like it is today. And he specifically told me that I was toxic and I had what was called an environmental illness, and that yes, my liver was bad, but I didn't have cancer because an allopathic doctor told me I had cancer and that I should be
Wow.
on methotrexate. Now, if I had liver cancer 30 years ago, I would not be talking to you today. Okay, unless some miracle had happened in my body. Lots of miracles have happened in my body. Truly, it has. But I believe that I was led down the wrong track many times with too many doctors. And I just said, I'm not going to let that happen to other people. So I went back to school to answer your question. I went back to school and I became a naturopath because I wanted to find out what it was that helped me to get well. And if God helped me to get well, I promise that for the rest of my life, I would spend the rest of my life
Mhm.
helping other people like me, that no one should ever have to go through what I
Yeah.
went through back then. And
Amen.
that's why I went back to school to become a naturopath.
That's
That's
amazing.
good. And can you tell us a little bit more about like a naturopath? What exactly does a naturopath do?
So a lot of people heard of herbalists and a lot of people heard of homeopathy. A naturopath is someone who studies natural remedies. So you could either have an ND, have a naturopathic degree, or you could be a PhD, but you still, and also because I'm a registered nurse, you still learn the same basic sciences as a regular allopathic doctor. You just specialize in natural remedies. You don't specialize in giving medications. You don't specialize in surgery. You specialize in how to live a whole life. A
Right.
whole life with, let food be your medicine. You've heard of that. Eat out of the garden. You've heard of that. Herbs.
Yeah,
You've
that's
heard
right.
of that. These are all the things you take into consideration. And one of the most powerful things that I've learned in the last 10 years was stem cell therapy. So I do stem cell therapy. I do ozone therapy. I do oxygenation therapy. And I do custom DNA vitamins and nutrient therapy. And you could tell people all day long to drink a green drink. Does a green drink help you? Absolutely. Is it a miracle cure? No, but it's the beginning of cleaning your body out, getting all the minerals and vitamins that you need, because nothing works unless it gets at the cellular level. So if you drink juice, green pure juices from the grasses, it enters into your cellular level, and it's so many benefits. Like one of the things that it helps you with is it helps you with brain. Your brain can work much better. Your
That's
energy is
true.
much better. You have better blood flow. You digest your food much better.
Hmm.
All of these, and you don't have pain. Like a lot of people have so much pain. If they take away the acid food and give the body green foods, which is alkaline foods, they're going to find that the irritation in their joints go away.
Did you hear that noise?
So
You're talking about my joints, right?
well, I'm sure people are saying like, what green drink? Okay, just I tell everyone that the science of natural remedies go a long way if you could put the healthy things in your body and move your body, which means that natural remedies go along with exercise or movement therapy. Because if you don't move right, it's not going to get to where you need it to go. So blood flow again is everything. But I think that a lot of people complicate this thing over and over and over again. Someone said to me, well, should I do raw foods, or should I do paleo? Should I do keto? Should I do low carb? Should I do low fat? Should I do HCG? And I said, wait. Why don't we start with just being a nutritarian? And a nutritarian is just put natural nutrients in your body first.
Wow.
Because when you think about all those things, you're going to become a professional dieter.
That's
Trust me,
true.
I was
Yeah,
a
exactly.
professional dieter. There's not a diet you can ask me about that I didn't do. And guess what? None of them work, and all of them work. What does that mean? None of them work and all of them work. It just means they're all temporary, because you
Wow.
cannot sustain any of it unless you have nutrients in your body. And those nutrients have to be customized to who you are as a person.
Yes, that's
Does
true.
it make sense?
Yeah,
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it
like
does.
doctors today, they're quick to tell you, all right, well, you're low in vitamin D, or you're low in vitamin E, or you're low in vitamin selenium. Well, guess what? In America today, we're all living a low level nutrient
Yeah,
content. We're living in the land of the plenty, but we're living on empty nutrients. It's everywhere, but we're not paying attention.
that's so true. That's so true. And then that kind of brings us to the next question is oh, by the way, we got a couple questions from people. So if you guys want to call in, you can call in to ask your questions. And I know it's like COVID season, and nobody wants to gain weight, everybody wants to lose the weight. But when you're at home and you're quarantining, you just eat,
Yeah,
Yes.
it's hard. It's
it's
hard.
hard. So I think tonight's session will be really helpful to a lot of people because it will help us to know, like what things to do when you're trying to, I guess, like
To live a
a
healthy
healthy
life.
lifestyle. So I
Yeah.
think this
Yeah.
would be really helpful. So one of the questions that we got is, why is detox important for the body, and how often is it recommended?
Okay, that's a really good question, and I love that question. Detoxification for the body is absolutely necessary today. We live in a very toxic world, and so cleansing up our bodies, it's just not only essential, but it's a dying necessity today, because one of
Yeah.
the things that you have to remember is when, that book, by the way, became a New York Times bestseller because it was timely. Back then, when I first, this book's old, it's about 12, 14 years old. I'm not even sure anymore. But back then, it was because we all needed to detox. So yes, detoxification is absolutely necessary, but detoxing is not starving yourself. And let me tell you what the detox that we have is all about. We want to talk a little bit about maximum nutrition in small dosages, because you heard me say that we're all living in the land of the plenty, but we're starving, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
maximum nutrition means if you take a green drink and you remove the fiber from it, the green drink is left with nothing but minerals and vitamins, right? So if you drink that one green drink, you've got maximum nutrition. And not only
Right.
that, you don't have to have any energy at all to have it go to where it needs to go. And that's to our cells so that we can make energy from it. That's just one drink. If you take another drink, for an example, called an antioxidant drink, let's just say, for an example, a berry drink. All right. And you just do the same thing. You take all the berries, all of it, so many different berries now. Goji berries, there's blackberries, blueberries, you know what I'm talking about, right? And you juice that. Well, again, you remove the fiber and there's nothing but the minerals and the vitamins left and the antioxidants left. And then you do it again. And then you have what's called another drink, which basically means, now I'm talking about live vegetables. All right. I'm talking about
Right.
going out and getting all kinds of vegetables and juicing it. And a lot of people say, well, what about carrot juice? I go, that's one juice. Then somebody will say, well, what about cucumbers and kale? I go, that's just two vegetables. So
Hmm.
what I'm talking about when I say maximum nutrition, I'm talking about at least 15 different vegetables. And I always tell people, let's keep this simple. Just go out and buy all the colors. Don't just think you should just have just two, three different juices. You should
Yeah.
have them all. There's at least 15 of them out there. They all have their own phytonutrient content. They all work synergistically together. So you shouldn't just think about just one juice. Someone told me, well, I just do carrots. I go, well, okay, but that's a lot of sugar and you're not going to get all your minerals from just
That's
carrots.
true.
So do them all. And I tell people, just think about the colors. Don't think about anything else. And then you got all your minerals if you do that. And so you do that like 5 or 6 times a day. There's a schedule, of course. And then, like I tell people, every 2 hours, do a juice. And then at night, guess what you do? You ever heard of pot liquor?
No.
Well, pot liquor is, or let's call it broth, or let's call it free broth, or whatever. You take all these vegetables again and you like boil it and soup it. I mean, I'm talking
Oh,
about
like soup.
greens. Yes, but this is what you're going
Okay.
to do. You're going to take collard greens and cabbage and cauliflower and green beans and kale and spinach and squash. I've already named about seven, all right? And you're going to put it in a pot with a bunch of garlic and onions. And then you're going to put your favorite herbs in there. I don't know about you, but I love the taste of curry. I just do. I don't
Mhm.
know. I love curry and I love cayenne and I love what's called no salt vegetable seasonings. And I put a little oregano in there. And I just let that soup boil for about 15 minutes just to get it all stirred up together, right? But this is what I do. I put it in a huge pot and I let it simmer for 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours. Do you know what I just did? I just rinsed all the vitamins and minerals out of those vegetables, didn't I? And now what's left in the pot is fiber, but it's the broth that's in the pot that gives you all your vitamins and minerals.
Wow.
It's
I wasn't aware
powerful.
of that.
It's
Wow.
powerful. And see, we have to think like that because that's what I mean by maximum nutrition in small dosages. So now you drink the broth all day. Guess what you're drinking all day? You're drinking
Fiber.
phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And you teach your kids stuff like that. I remember one time I did some broth. I called it pot liquor. My grandmother called it that. I'm sorry. I don't know why she called it that, but back in the South, everybody called it pot liquor. But they would have like soup cooking all day with
Wow.
soup, and we just go in and scoop some up anytime we wanted to scoop it up. We just thought it was like soda or something. I mean, kids today will never do. I mean, I guess I didn't understand why we did it, but you have to understand that's all we had.
That's
That's
true.
Yeah.
all we
That's
had.
true.
So we thought it was just a good tasting thing. You tell a kid today to go scoop up some broth, they think you're out of your mind.
Yeah. That's so
But
true.
we got to get back there. We have to go back there because what's literally happening today, our children, they're just obese, not because they're not eating, it's because they're not getting nutrients. Eating and
Yeah.
getting nutrients are two different things, and they're starting at 6 and 7 years old, just overweight, and they don't have energy. I mean, we had so much energy. We played ballet, hopscotch, and what do you call it, anything else? I mean, we were just playing all day
Yeah,
on the
that's
jungle
true.
gym.
Yeah, that's
Try those kids don't do that today. Try getting them to do those things today. They'll just sit down on the bench. So because they don't have the energy
Yeah,
that
that's
we used
true.
to have. So, basically what we have to do is we have to go back to nature. It's
Hmm.
there for us. It's just the knowledge that we're lacking because we just missed the beat. That's all. It's never going to go away.
Right. That's true.
that's true. So we got a question
Oh, in the comment section.
in the comments.
So someone T2 Cute Mason says, "What is your suggestion for someone who's trying to quit smoking?"
Yeah, smoking is hard, but what you have to do again is mind over matter. And a lot of times what happened, I can tell you what my father did. My father would supplement something for that because that could be an emotional thing. And this might sound weird, but it worked for him. He would get sticks, like he would get cinnamon sticks, he would get celery sticks, he would get carrot sticks, he would get all these different sticks. And whenever it was time for him to smoke, he would put that stick in his mouth and suck on it, especially the cinnamon. And then what we did, what was called neuropeptides. Neuropeptides sometimes that can help a person to remove the craving for the smoking. And that's not an easy thing to do, but you have to start with blood work. And when you start with blood work, we give you actually either injections or supplements by capsules to allow the person to stop craving that smoke. Stop. It's an addiction, and addictions are hard. So you really have to work with a health coach when you have an addiction like that. So I wish there was a simple answer for you, but there's no simple answer except this. First, you have to start with your mind. How bad do you want to stop smoking? And if you do want it bad, you do not have to think about it. You could wake up the next day, don't smoke, and then start looking at for all the things you can do to replace that behavior. And don't
That's
think
true.
you're not going to have the craving. You will have the craving, but like I said, you got to work with a coach or give me a call on my email, and I could tell you that we have to give you some neuropeptides or some supplements to keep the cravings from being so strong. I hope that answered your question.
I think it does.
Yeah, it does.
But hopefully it does, T2Q. Hopefully that, I think it answers the question. So another question that we had is, how does water help with weight loss? Because I know most of the
Water
times, yeah.
Water is absolutely a necessity for weight loss, because if you don't move the contents out of the body so that you can lose the weight, then what do you think happens? It circulates, right?
Yeah.
So water flushes the body, and it allows you to, even when you lose weight, you want the debris. I like to call it the debris, but the excess fat to be removed from the body, and the water does that. So it's absolutely critical that you drink water for any weight loss program that you get on.
And so,
Because the other thing is dehydration is not a natural state. So if you don't drink water and you become dehydrated, the body resists losing the weight, because the body's not going to let you harm itself very easily.
yeah,
What happens to man, what happens to us is that we're stubborn. We don't listen to our body. We
that's
don't
true.
even listen to the fact that we're thirsty. We think that we're not thirsty. What we think it is that we're hungry, or we think that we
Oh yeah.
crave potato chips, or we crave sugar. We don't crave any of those things. Most of the time we crave water. It's just that
Yeah,
we interpret it as potato chips or candy.
that's true. That's so true. And I know, like, for some people, because we keep hearing, you need to drink water. Water helps with weight loss. But then sometimes, well, for me personally, I know that sometimes when I drink water, I feel so bloated, like I'm drinking too
Well,
much.
what you
So,
might want to try when you feel bloated, try distilled water for a while, like every other cup. You'll find that distilled water will rinse the body, because if you do eat too much salt, it will make you feel bloated. See,
oh,
water in, water out. Like if you drink water, you're only replacing the water that you urinated out. If that's not happening, if you're not urinating enough out, that means you have too much sodium, or you need to try distilled water for just a while. I don't advocate that everyone goes totally on distilled water, but I found that when people tell me they get bloated from water, that's usually the case.
okay. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense. And guys, please like the live, as Maria says, and then still invite somebody to join. It's not too late to invite someone to join. Here's another question. What's a good recommendation for face breaking?
For face breakout,
Yeah.
Yes.
you have to understand that most people have food intolerances. You have to know what that is, because, and you got to pay attention to the breakout. Like, let's say, for an example, do you break out after every time you sweat? Then what's in that sweat? Do you break out when you eat too much fat? Do you break out because you're eating too many carbs? I know one lady break out because she drinks diet soda all day.
Mhm.
So what's good for a face breakout is first another cleanse. Besides the fact that you have to know why you're breaking out, clay cleanses work really, really well, because a clay cleanse will go in and draw the toxicity out of the pores in your skin. And then you replace the oils with something very light, like maybe coconut oil that's very light, or you can figure out how to get something that's really got vitamin E in it, because a lot of people realize that when they use soap or something like that, it's usually the ingredients that's in the soap that doesn't that's not good for your skin. So
Oh,
you have to determine what it is, and that takes quite a bit of time. But you have to say, okay, let me just not use anything on my face for a long time and
right.
see what happens. If your face clears up, then you know that it's something that you're using on your skin. And then you have
Okay.
to say, most people know that there's certain things that their body don't like. I have to tell you the truth. I have to tell you the truth. Most people know. Like this lady clearly knew, this another lady clearly knew that milk and dairy and ice cream in her coffee, she knew all those things were really bad for her skin. But she wanted me to give her some miracle, and the miracle was just not eat it. But she
Yeah.
didn't want to hear that. She didn't want to hear that. So so in other words, until you really do what it is that your body's crying out for you to do, it's not going to go away.
That's true. That's true. I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I agree.
Well, some things make sense to us all, and we are our own worst enemy. Most of the time, we are.
That's
You
true.
know,
Yeah.
like we all want to lose weight on COVID. We know that we're stuck in the house, right? So what
Hmm.
do? We go out and we get all kinds of junk food, and we get wine, and we get
Yep.
everything that makes us happy, because we're unhappy. Being at home is different. So
Yeah,
That's
that's
but
true.
true.
but it's the perfect time to take the opportunity to get healthy and cleanse. And it's a perfect time for the entire family to learn how to get healthy. It's not the
Hmm.
opposite. And the reason why it's a perfect time is because we are living in a world of viruses, and this virus may
Yeah.
calm down, but it's going to leave residual remnants behind. It's going to leave some chronic symptoms behind. The other thing is that, another one is right around the corner. So we have no choice but to take care of our health and our immune system right now, because, we could talk about the top 10 things that causes death, but now one of the top 10 things is viruses.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so true. I think that we have a question that came in via the phone.
Yeah. So the question is, if you're diabetic, what fruits will be the best fruit to include in your diet if
The
you're diabetic?
fluid
Fruits.
fruit. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, if you have to eat fruit, I'm going to tell you, for a diabetic, I have something called the PEVI diet, right? And I created the PEVI diet for many years ago. I created it, and I'm still haven't finished with the book. But the PEVI diet I created because of diabetic. My father was a diabetic. My mother's a diabetic. My brother's a diabetic, but I refuse to ever be a diabetic. Okay, even though it runs in my family. And the reason for that is that some of the most horrible things that happens to a diabetic is just unbelievable. The last thing you
Yeah.
want somebody to do is have their leg cut off, their foot cut off. They have cardiac problems. They have strokes. They have diabetes. I mean, diabetes causes a lot of other chronic illnesses.
That's true.
Why
That's
is
true.
that? It's called thick blood, right? What does thick blood do? Thick blood clogs you up and colludes your organs. That's why you end up on a kidney dialysis machine. So, and I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the best fruit is no fruit until you get it under control. And then when you get your blood sugar under control, berries is the best, because the berries have a high concentration of phytonutrients and a lower concentration of sugar.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
it
and
does.
and the other thing I want to tell this person is, um, when you're diabetic, unfortunately, you crave fruit. Why is that? Is because the blood sugar that you're craving is probably your blood sugar has what's called ups and downs. Sometimes you're high and your blood sugar, sometimes you low. But the brain is only going to remember when you're low. And so what happens is it makes you crave the very thing that you shouldn't have.
Oh,
So stick with no fruit, and if you have to have it, then the berries. Now the PEVY diet is PEVY. It's the best diet for a diabetic. PEVY means P for protein, E for essential fatty acids, and V for vegetables, and Y is for your essentials, whatever that is. I don't know what your essentials are. You need blood work. And that's the one thing that I tell people all the time. In order to get you healthy, I need to see your blood work.
Right.
The other thing that happens to a diabetic, besides craving the sugar or the fruit, is they're dehydrated most of the time. So increase your water, decrease your fruit, unless it's, you absolutely have to have a few berries. Do it by itself, all by itself with a little bit of berries, and invest in some stevia if you have a sweet tooth. Put stevia in everything. If you trust me, it worked for my dad.
Right. That makes sense. Thank you. All
I think there's
right.
something called berry stevia, just by the way.
Oh, there is? I wonder how that tastes.
Yeah.
All right. So there was another question here. Would you, from Way Parks, would you recommend alkaline water over spring water? What are the advantages of using either?
Okay, absolutely. You got to remember water. I would never want to tell someone to use alkaline water all the time. You have to have a healthy balance. I do what's called an alkaline drink. Okay, every green drink is alkaline. And there's a lot of things that are alkaline. Like I'll make sure I get my greens every single day, whether it's a juice or whether it's a green vegetable. But will I drink alkaline water periodically? Absolutely. There's not a question without a doubt. But will I drink it every day, all day? No, because you don't want your body to be too alkaline. You just want your body to be neutral. So please drink both. I hope that answers your question. Drink
Okay.
both, especially if you're not going to drink green juices. Alkaline water is okay.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Here is another question. What advice can you give about staying on track and maintaining a healthy lifestyle?
Routine. And I'll tell you about routine. And a lot of people don't stay on track for a healthy lifestyle because they have a very how do I put this? A very unorganized day. And in order to be healthy, you have to have what's called a routine. Like for an example, what do you do when you wake up? I tell someone, when you wake up, the first thing you want to do is you want to drink something, right? You want to hydrate. And then you want to have by your bedside all the nutrients that you need that goes with not eating. Like, there's nutrients that someone says, it says only with food, but there's nutrients that you should take that you shouldn't take with food. So you have that by your bedside. Then after that, you want to do exercise on an empty stomach. Please, guys, do not go out and eat eggs and toast and sausage and then go running. That's not good for you. You want to exercise on an empty stomach, and then when you come back, you want to hydrate again. And the best way to do that is have a full blown smoothie. Smoothies are great. And I'll tell you why smoothies are great in my life is because I don't know about you, but I don't have any time to be sitting down and cooking. And every time I hire an assistant to help us eat healthy, she don't last. So I had to take into consideration that nobody does that today. So I'll be lucky if I get a good healthy meal at night, but during the day, you want to still be healthy. So please start doing smoothies, because with a smoothie you could put everything in it. You put a scoop of protein, and you put some greens in there, and you can even add a little berries in there. You could put some coconut oil in there. You see what I'm going? Look at that.
Yeah.
I've already created a healthy drink. A healthy drink is going to keep you on track for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. But nothing happens unless you have a routine and you stick with that routine. And then that's your midday smoothie. And then in the evening time, plan your meals. Don't get hungry. People who get hungry never stay on a healthy diet. I'm never hungry. Why? I'll have a drink with me all the time. Like I had a drink with me and someone says, "What's that?" I go, "Well, you probably don't want to know about it because you're not going to do it." What I have, it was a little bit of apple cider vinegar with a little bit of lime in it, a little bit of cayenne pepper. Why? Because I happen to think that apple cider is good for me. And also it keeps my appetite down and it gets me to the next phase. So that's just one thing. And then when I wake up in the morning, I'll make sure that I have a green drink. Somewhere along that day, I never stop thinking. Every 2 to 3 hours, I will make sure that my body gets some type of what? We talked about it earlier, maximum nutrition in a small dose. When I say a small dose, I'm talking about just a glass. Just
Yeah.
a glass. You know how powerful a glass of grain juice is? Do you know how powerful one smoothie is? Most people don't get that much nutrients in a week.
That's
So
true.
never underestimate the power of those drinks. And then when I start customizing it for you, that's really super powerful because sometimes I'll customize somebody's drink, like especially an athlete or something like that. They may need more lysine or they may need more methionine. You know, you can customize everything. So I hope that helps
Right.
your question. So stay on track by staying hydrated, having a routine, and do maximum nutrition throughout your day.
That sounds perfect.
That
All
makes
right.
sense.
There was another question that came in on the phone. Well, two more. So the first question is, what is the best thing to do if you have hernia? It's hernia, right?
Mhm.
Hernia, yes.
Well, unfortunately, hernia is not my expertise because lots of people have hernia, and you have to be able to make sure that if it's not at the point where you need surgery. The other thing is that sometimes, depending on where the hernia is, like if you have an abdominal hernia, you have to wear a binder so that because there's certain moves that you may take that will allow that hernia to protrude, and it can become very, very aggressive, and you might
Mm.
have to have surgery. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the hernia to keep it from getting worse. But there's no magic because that's sort of like a surgical thing, unless you maintain it with binders.
Right.
And if that's only if it's in an area where you can do that.
Okay, that
Okay.
makes sense. All right. And then the other question says, when you have a total hysterectomy and feel fatigue, like restless and can't sleep, what is the best thing to do?
Get your hormones under You have to get your hormones in shape because if you had a hysterectomy, your hormones are out of control. And I would have to ask you, what is your estrogen like? What is your progesterone like? Do you even have any testosterone? Because unless these hormones are under control, and the mother hormone, the DHEA, if you don't have these hormones under control, you're never going to feel good.
Yeah, that's
And let's start with blood work to see where you are at so that we can fix it.
Okay.
that's perfect. All right. So along that line, there was another question that we had received. So it says, for a female that suffers from endometriosis and PCOS, are there any natural remedies to help reduce the pains associated with these illnesses?
Yeah, it's a painful condition, but it's also a condition that can be stabilized. Like, for an example, PCOS, a lot of people don't believe this, but you have to go natural and you have to decrease your sugar content. The other thing that helps PCOS, and a lot of people are starting to do this as well, is intermittent fasting is one of the best ways to control PCOS. It is one of the things that I tell people all the time is that in order to stabilize someone, you first have to go on a fast or a cleanse, and then after that you stabilize. It's a very harsh hormone problem. And so again, we got to keep saying it because blood work is everything. If you fix the problem with the blood work or the hormones, then you're going to feel better. A lot of times too with endometriosis, if you think about the pain that people are having, I put people on some CBD oil, and that seems to help a lot of people. CBD
Mm.
oil is a highest anti-inflammatory for PCOS.
And that would help with the pain.
It
It
helps with
helps
the
to reduce.
pain. Then the
Oh,
reason why it helps with the pain, number one, and it also is an anti-inflammatory that helps the whole process of your hormones. And
mhm.
one of the things too about PCOS is if you have the headaches that goes with it, I want to tell you that there's a medication out there that they were using a lot for. Um, what's that medication? It was for diabetes. I'm going to tell you
Metformin?
what metformin. That medication, was designed to decrease the sugar content in the person's body, because PCOS is aggravated and it allows people to crave the sugar. And when they crave the sugar, they have more inflammation in the body. There's about 20 different foods besides sugar. Now, I don't know why they picked sugar, but sugar was the number one thing that helped a lot of people with PCOS, but they never got completely well because there's so many different foods out there that causes inflammation in the body and that makes PCOS worse. There's at least 20 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
do dyes, you can't do chemicals, you can't do artificial sugars, you can't do trans fats. There's a lot of them. You got to stay very, very clean, and intermittent fasting helps a lot.
That's good. I remember once I was doing, well, a couple times I did intermittent fasting, and I think it helped with like
Mhm.
losing weight and stuff like that, but I wasn't consistent
Consistent.
with
Right,
it.
yeah.
And I
Well,
think that's one of my biggest thing is being consistent with like doing something. So
well, ask yourself why you weren't consistent, because a lot of times you know, but you just don't really care. Like some people tell
yeah,
me they're not consistent because um they crave the sugar and they're under stress, so they want it, or they crave the wine, or they crave the meats, or they crave the very thing that they're not supposed to have. Like you diabetics crave the sugar, high blood pressure guys, they crave the salt. These are things that you crave when you have the condition. So you have to ask yourself, why was I not consistent with that? What is it that I'm craving? Do you have
right.
low vitamin D? Some people have low vitamin D, they don't even know it. Do I
So,
have Am I lacking in antioxidants? You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
Yeah.
So, in other words, just keep this in mind. The body, in order for it to work for you, because the body, it will work miracles for you, but you need to keep it in homeostasis. You need to keep it in balance. And
Yeah,
if you don't know what you're missing, you're always going to not do well on diets.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that
I
makes
love that.
sense.
All right, there was another question, a couple more questions in the comment section. So, Dania Griffith
Dania.
says, huh?
Dania.
Dania. I'm so sorry, Dania. I have a problem with pronouncing names, okay? So she said, how should people with lupus eat?
Oh, lupus is an autoimmune condition, and it goes along with an autoimmune condition. You have to be able to keep the inflammation down in the body. They're highly inflamed when they have autoimmune. So again, you have to think about all those foods that causes inflammation in the body. Like I had a young man that had a horrible autoimmune, and he also his brain. He said his brain felt like it was exploding, and when I looked at the diet, he was eating everything that caused inflammation. It's everything. And it's a long list. But again, you have to realize that, an autoimmune condition, what you have to do. And I also don't know if this person knows anything at all about stem cells. But now stem cells is one of the best things that they can do in ozone treatments. But until you get to that point, I would just say decrease every food that's not natural. Just everything that's natural. If it doesn't come out of the ground, you shouldn't do it. Don't open up a bag. Don't open up a can. Do not eat artificial chemicals. Do not do trans fats. Do not do anything that that has colored
Yeah,
dye in it. All of these foods aggravate an autoimmune condition like lupus. Eating clean. If God didn't make it, don't eat it.
well,
I just got to keep it
Yeah.
just like that. If man made it, then you don't know what's in it.
that's true. That's true.
And we're really super good at calming down autoimmune conditions now with stem cells. And a lot of nutrients too.
Mhm. All right, so there was this other question. It says, what advice can you give on fibroids?
Fibroids.
Hmm.
Fibroids is an over estrogen problem. Depends on how big that is. Nowadays, you can have what's called a poultice being created with certain hormones that you can use either rectally or vaginally that will help to start to shrink the fibroids. But in other than that, stay away from estrogenic foods. Do not even touch a piece of meat that they give hormones to. You can't do that because with fibroids, you have to remember if it gets too big, it makes you bleed a lot. And if you bleed a lot, now you're going to become very anemic. So you got to make sure that you don't do anything that causes the fibroids to get larger. And there are things now that you could do. There's a company out in trying to think of it, but there's herbs now that are really good at shrinking the fibroids. And you make a poultice with it. So just reach out to me. You make a poultice with it, and vaginally or rectally, it'll help you to shrink those fibroids down. But the most important thing, if you don't eat right, now you're feeding the fibroids, and you feed fibroids with estrogen.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you gotta eat right.
And
Yes,
Dr.
you have
Ron,
to eat right. You can't eat animal products that have estrogen in it. You know how they put hormones in our meat.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's an estrogen problem. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
And increased estrogen will make the fibroids grow. Now, the good news is that if I don't know how old she is, but when you get older, like your estrogen stores decrease, and most of the time, the fibroids will shrink on its own if you can tolerate it that long.
Oh, that's
Right.
good.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that
yeah.
as you get older, it shrinks on its
Why?
own.
Because you don't have high estrogen when you get older, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's good. That's
Mhm.
good. I'm learning a lot tonight,
Yeah,
guys.
me too.
I'm really learning a lot. It's really helpful. And I mean, not every day you have the opportunity to ask your questions in a setting like this and basically get, like, what do you call it? Free consultation in a sense.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
so
It's my
ask your questions.
pleasure. Yeah.
Right. So definitely ask your questions. And some of the questions that I'm seeing too in the comment section are questions that we received or we had on the list. So we're just gonna ask it. Corey, thank you for donating $5. We
Super
appreciate
sticker.
it.
Now we got Milton Hamilton coming in for the guys now. How do
Yeah.
you control prostate problems?
A prostate problem, but you have to remember with the guys that have that, we need some blood work from them because one of the things, they have a lot of really super good supplements out now for prostate problems. But do not wait too late because if you wait too late, then the prostate gets too enlarged and it interferes with urination. And that's when you start having a really big problem. So the best thing right now is to make sure you go and get your blood work done to see how bad it is. There's what I'm telling you, there's great supplements out there for prostate right now. Not as opposed to 10 years ago, we had a big problem with it, but there's good stuff out there now. There's great herbs for prostate. But again, you can't wait until you can't go to the bathroom.
That's true.
Yeah.
So are there things that guys can do now, like younger guys, to like prevent that from happening, like as it relates to food items, like things that they could eat or not eat?
Cleanse. The best way to take care of your organs is to do a cleanse, to make sure that you take care of your liver, your kidneys, your prostate, and your lymphatic system with the mild cleanse. There's a cleanse out there for everything nowadays. You should, oh, by the way, someone asked that question earlier. You should do one cleanse every year for 21 days. That gets every organ in your body. It gets your kidneys, your liver, your prostate, your pancreas, your lymphatic system, and your lungs. The reason why you do 1 21-day cleanse a year is so that it can get to all of those organs. Because literally what happens when you don't cleanse is because these things get clogged. Like they're all cousins. All your detox organs are like cousins. They
Mhm.
if one doesn't work right, then the other one steps in, right? That's why, I always tell people, if your kidneys are bad, if you're on a kidney dialysis machine, then hopefully your liver is going to step in and take some of that bronch. And hopefully you're going to dry skin brush, and you're going to do all these things, because the skin is also a second largest organ. So you got to take care of your skin. How do you do that?
Mhm.
You open up the pores by dry brushing it and cleansing and keeping it cleansed, and making sure you don't, like we used to do when we were kids, put Vaseline
Yeah,
and things to clog us
Yeah.
up. We got to open up our pores, not clog up our pores.
that's
But
true.
so, so to get back to the person with prostate, he needs some herbal remedies for his prostate, just like the lady with the fibroids. These guys need to get on herbal cleanses. And the way to do that is to call me, get a consultation, and I put them on the herbs. And I have like 10 questions to ask them, because one shoe doesn't fit everyone. You can't put everybody all on the same
Mhm.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. All right. So I think there was another question from Milton. He says, "What is the simplest way of detoxifying one's body?"
And he wants to know a simple way. Okay, the simple way is the easiest way to start. Is that get a juicer, go out and just get all the vegetables that you can get. Don't worry about the colors. Don't worry about whether you like it. None of that. Just grab all kinds of vegetables, bring them home, clean them, cut them up into different bags. And then when you get ready to make a juice, you just take a little bit of vegetables out of each bag, shove it in that juicer and start. And then 2, 3 hours later, you do another juice. And before you're done with the day, you're going to take the other vegetables that you didn't use, you're going to throw it in the pot, and you're going to put a bunch of onions and garlic in it with a little bit of cayenne pepper, maybe some curry, maybe a little oregano, maybe a little bit of rosemary. You got to know what spices you like and what spices you don't like. But in the meantime, you put this, don't use any salt, please. And you boil those vegetables for about a good 15, 20 minutes briskly, and then you lower the heat for about 6 hours, very, very low, and you will have the most powerful broth there is. And then you
Wow.
take those vegetables
Nice.
out and you put it in a blender. And why did you do that? It's because you still want a little bit of fiber, but you don't want your body to work, right? You don't want your body
Yeah,
to work hard. You want to have like a nice um, blended vegetables, and then drink the broth all day. It's the most powerful cleanse you can do. That's easy. You want it easy? That's easy. Do not believe and trust those other cleanses out there that tell you to go buy some powder. That's not cleanse. That's called green powder.
hmm, that's true.
Okay.
I love that.
You
I
gotta
think
have
I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna. I might try the broth.
Yeah, the broth. The broth. I like the broth too. Why? Because I like hot. I like spicy, and it makes me feel full. And for whatever reason, I feel like I'm absorbing my minerals better. And then the juice. I like the juice, but I've been juicing for so many years. It's not that exciting anymore. I just do it. Before you know it, it's just gone. Sometimes I even
Yeah,
forget that I had my juice, because I'm not excited about it. I just do it. But I really am excited about my soup. I love my soups. I have a book of soups that I'm coming out with. I mean, I have at least 50 different soups.
Oh
I
wow,
think
that's
I'll buy
good.
that book.
Yeah,
I
because
will
soup,
definitely buy that book.
because I did the juice already. I did the 21-day cleanse, and that was fun and everything like that. But now it's time for people to really do soups at home for the whole
Yeah,
family. And
Yeah,
even with
that's
the
true.
kids, you could scoop out the vegetables and put it in another pan, and you can just like put some coconut oil in it and fry it up, and you can make it taste good. You just got to have fun with it.
that's
What's the
true.
worst thing that can happen is that you don't like it, so you don't do it that way the next time.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There was another question here from Uncle Ruel.
At what level PSI? I don't know what PSI means, but probably you will know. PSI likely to result in prostate cancer.
Oh, that's I don't know the answer to that. But I think one thing's for sure, he's got to start with good blood work for everything, because if you think about just your prostate alone, in order to get healthy, remember we said you have to stay in what's called homeostasis, right? So if he has a very high level of a PSI, then I like to know what his liver enzymes are, his kidney enzymes are, before I tell him that. That's a question I would not know unless I look at his entire blood work.
Okay.
Because because he's looking for an answer to see if he has cancer or not. And then that wouldn't be fair to him. He would need to have a consultation.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. Let me see. What other? All right. So there's a question from Khadija. She says, "How can one control high blood pressure without taking medication?"
Well, the thing you got to remember about high blood pressure is that a lot of people cause it. And it depends on why the blood pressure is high. But what I tell people to do to start with, first of all, is remove the salt. That's number one. The other thing is if you go out and you buy something called kyolic garlic, it's really a cardiovascular formula, and it's everywhere now. No matter what health food store you go into, you're going to see what's called kyolic garlic. Is spelled KYOLIC, and it will have on the bottle cardiovascular. If you take 3 or 4 of those 3 times a day, and just don't be afraid to take it. It's just garlic, right? And take that 3, 4 times a day, and decrease the salt in your life, and make sure that you do some kind of minerals. Like when I say minerals, I'm saying that a juice or soup, because you got to have minerals. Minerals keep your minerals status at an even level. It also helps to flush out excess salt, but your potassium is important. You have to have good potassium, and that's why I'm saying your minerals have to be good. Now,
Okay.
again, try that, and I guarantee you. Oh, the other thing that you might want to do to help with blood pressure is magnesium powder. I tell everybody to take a little bit of magnesium. It's called Calm. It even tastes good. They got strawberry flavor, they got lemon flavor. Scoop up a little bit of Calm and drink it at night. The worst it's going to do is help you go to sleep. The best it's going to do is you're going to wake up refreshed.
Okay.
Right.
And
Sounds
it'll help you keep your blood pressure down as well.
So is the kyolic garlic, is it different from like regular garlic? Is it
Yeah,
like
you
a
can't. I know a lot of people would think that they could just go buy some garlic and take it, but
yeah?
you can't eat that much garlic, and that's why you have to get supplement garlic. I eat a lot of garlic. I put garlic in my soups, and I even put a little tiny bit in my juice. But man, you would need to have bulbs, like several bulbs of that every
Mhm.
day, 2, 3 times a day. Don't be afraid of just gobbling down a couple of capsules of garlic in a day. It's just garlic in a capsule form, but it really
Right.
helps. It really, really helps to get your blood pressure down.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the other question, let me see, is completely removing carbs from your diet healthy?
Well, that's a really good question, and I like that question because yes and no. So, what are we talking about? Are we talking about refined carbs, or are we talking about complex carbs? Complex carbs are our vegetables, right? So, you don't want to move that because I believe in PEVI, and that means
Mhm.
protein, essential fats, vegetables, and your essentials. But I think this person is probably talking about refined carbs. And absolutely, I believe refined carbs is one of the worst things that you could do when you're trying to get healthy. Refined carbs are things that are white, like white bread, white rice, white noodles, pastries, cookies, crackers. I don't know. There's so much refined carbs now. I can write a book on just all the refined carbs. But if you just keep this thing really simple and just say that I'm going to make myself do a high protein, I would just say moderate protein, but definitely protein, and moderate vegetables and fat. And not just trans fat. I'm not talking about butter or olive oil. I'm talking about essential fats like fish oils or coconut oil, almond oil, sesame seed oil. These are what I'm calling therapeutic oils, and definitely omega-3 or oils are good for you as well. So these are called essential fatty acids. And the reason why it's called essential fatty acids is because the word essential means you can't live without it, right?
Right.
Just like protein. Protein is called essential amino acids. And the reason why it's called essential is because you can't live it out without it. But there's no such thing as essential carbohydrates. So you can live without that. And vegetables is a cleansed food, so you cannot live without that. So we can live without the carbs. Now, a low carb diet just basically means removing the refined carbs from your diet. We're not talking about vegetables. That's not considered a refined carb. That's called complex carb, and it's necessary
Okay.
with limits, within limits. Because I know, depending on what this person is talking about, they may be thinking, well, how many grams of carbs should I have? It's not how many grams, it's the type of carbs you should be having.
Mm-hmm.
And you should be including all the green vegetables and some other color vegetables into your life. Otherwise, you're going to have what's called a mineral deficiency.
Wow.
Oh.
So for someone who's trying
To conceive, right? Do you think like dieting and exercise will help for someone that's trying to conceive?
Oh, absolutely. This person have to have what's called all the macronutrients. This person cannot go on, I was saying to somebody the other day, there's over 100 different crazy diets out there. I mean, and literally I was laughing at so many diets out there. So it's not about a diet. Remember what I was saying, it's about nutrients. She's trying to consume. She has to have maximum nutrition in her life. She cannot, because today there's no such thing as eating healthy, because there's not a lot of good healthy foods out there. It's called eating good, but not eating healthy. Eating healthy means maximum nutrition in small dosages. And we talked about that a lot today. So this person have to have green drinks, and have to have soups, and have to have antioxidant drinks. And by all means, she should do a blood work to see what she's deficient in, so that she can up the ante. The last thing you want to know while you're pregnant is that you don't have vitamin D, or you have low selenium. These are real. These things are real, and why people don't conceive as the way we used to many years ago. It's because, again, we're living in a land of the plenty, and we're starving.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right. So this question is from Chantel. She says, "How can one really decrease weight gain? I cut back on my carbs. I drink at least 2.5 liters of water daily and also exercise, but still gain weight. What should I do and what should I not do?"
Well, if that person is doing all of that and still gaining weight, guess what that person has? Is called out of balance, which basically means that person is not in homeostasis. There is something going on wrong why she's not losing weight. If you are on a diet and you're exercising, then what's missing here? A lot of times someone may be inflamed and they don't know why they're inflamed. Some people are so inflamed they don't even know they're inflamed. What is inflammation? Inflammation happens when you're doing something that the body doesn't agree with. Like I call a lot of times, that's called food intolerances. You know, if you're going on a diet, but you're eating all the wrong things, and keep this in mind, all the wrong things does not mean that it's not healthy. You could be eating healthy food, but your body doesn't like it, or your body is intolerant to it. I don't like to use the word allergic to it. Doesn't mean that your body's allergic. It just means that your body's intolerant. Like I'll tell you a story about a lady who did keto. Okay, she was lactose intolerant. Every single day she had cheese and dairy. Well, this person's not going to lose weight. She's intolerant to dairy and cheese. So guess what? If she's eating it every day, guess what the body's going to do? Store it as fat.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's true.
Yeah, so just it depends on what's going on with her, why she is not losing weight. She needs blood work, and not just normal blood work. She needs nutritional blood work to find out why she is not losing weight. If she's exercising and dieting, there is a reason. I like to know what her thyroid is like. I like to know what her adrenal glands are doing.
Okay.
That makes sense. I remember once I used to think that once my doctor sends me to do a blood work, they could check for anything. Why do I have to keep going back to do several different blood tests? But then I realized that they have like different tests, and depending on the bottle thingy that they put it in,
Right. Oh
that's
yeah.
what tells you what you're testing for.
Oh, I know.
So,
We did a blood test on somebody last week, and they thought, he said, "Are you selling my blood? I've never had this much blood work." He said, "Yeah, it was like 12 vials of blood."
yeah.
But we leave no stone unturned. We do what's called integral wellness blood work, and integral wellness blood work requires a lot of tubes. We do all
Yeah.
the organs. We don't leave anything out, because
Right.
that's the only way you know who you are. And I told people all the time, who are you? If you know who you are, then we can cure or help you with just about anything.
That's
But we
true.
first have to
That
know
makes
who
sense.
you are. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. All right. So another question from Chantel. She says, "Would you recommend drinking a tablespoon of coconut oil twice daily?"
Depends on why she's drinking coconut oil. You have to remember, some people can tolerate that if they're doing what's called a keto diet, and their diet is just basically oil and protein. And by the way, if that's the case, it should be just temporary. But you have to ask her, why would she want to drink that much oil in a day?
Hmm.
Okay.
So in other words, yes, I can recommend it if I know why. Um,
Right. That's
but I,
fair.
I wouldn't tell everybody to drink coconut oil like that every day unless I know why.
Right. That makes sense.
And since you brought up keto diet, right? What are your thoughts on keto dieting?
Well, when I first started the conversation, I said there's over 100 different diets and they all work, but they all fail.
Yeah.
So, so again, if you want to go on a keto diet temporarily, just know that it's very, very difficult to sustain a life of a
Yeah.
keto diet. First of all, my whole thing is I'm about micro and macronutrients. I'm a nutritarian. I believe in nutrients. So at some point, you get in trouble when you isolate one type of food, like a keto sometimes, depending on. And the other thing is that not everybody can do it right. So, someone, had a really serious problem with their kidneys from doing it. You got to be well controlled with a health coach or a practitioner if you're going to go on an extreme program like that, because that person ended up losing a lot of potassium. They weren't doing it right. That
Yeah.
person ended up feeling sick because she had no sodium. So, I don't tell people not to do it. What I say is, let me help you do it right.
Right. That makes
That's
sense. That's fair. And so for someone who's trying to lose weight, do you recommend or suggest counting calories?
Um, that's a person that basically feels that they're eating too many calories. I don't count calories, and I don't tell my clients to count calories, because basically I find that it's a lot of work and it
Yeah.
doesn't work. I tell people to count their nutrients, because no matter, calories don't mean anything anymore, because we all live in what's called empty calories. I mean, one bowl of a green or is probably, what's the point in counting the calorie if it has no nutrients in it?
That's true.
Like if you go on a 1,000 calorie with no nutrients, you're going to get sick,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know so it's got to be the right calories, the right nutrients. So you should just forget about the calories and go what's called with good nutrition, and make sure that you're not doing anything processed or anything that's going to increase the weight in your body. And it has to be the right amount of nutrients, and you got to move the body, because I tell people all the time that we have over 70,000 miles of a micro vessels in our body. If you don't move the nutrients through the micro vessels, then your body, your organs will not get the nutrients.
Right. That makes sense. I think there was a call coming in. Oh, she's on the line.
Caller?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question. So it's kind of more of a statement. Okay, so my dad, he was actually like into greens. He was very healthy. He wouldn't buy anything. He wouldn't give you money to buy fast food. I mean, he had all these stories. Like, he was a very healthy eater. But he actually got colon cancer and he passed away. So I know he followed, like, you know, he, like I said, he had a healthy lifestyle and stuff like that. But this is something that ran with his dad. His dad had it too. So I just want to know if you think it's common that even though you follow like healthy guidelines and stuff, like once something is in your family and it's hereditary, is it kind of you wasting your time by being healthy? Because I don't really know how to word it. But like, so basically, he was a healthy person, but because, you know, something ran his family, his dad had cancer, like even though he followed all the healthy lifestyle, he still got colon cancer and wasn't able to make it.
Right.
So do you see
that's
that happen often? That, you know, even though someone is, you know, living, you know, like I said, a healthy lifestyle, just because something ran in their family, you know, because it worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to change the way I eat and stuff, and I just don't want it to be in vain.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I do see that a lot. I've been doing this work for 40 years, but out of every one person that happens to, there's thousands that it doesn't happen to. And we just always remember the one that it does happen to. And that's the one that stays on our heart the most. And we forget about all those thousands of people that it doesn't happen to. And because a lot of times you have to remember, we do have what's called the DNA and RNA, and that determines our outcome. And again, if I don't say this enough, sometimes we just not have done the right assessment on somebody like that, and we miss that point. Like, even though you could do the healthiest diet and you can exercise and you look great, if you miss something, if you miss one or two major things, then that person can lose the battle.
Wow.
All right, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Kiwana.
Okay, good night, bye.
Good night.
Bye. All right. So there was another question, like a follow-up question regarding coconut oil. So Chantal says, "Okay, thanks much. Does it coconut oil help with the onset dementia?"
Yes, coconut oil is a good oil. You know, it's a monolaurin, and it helps with viruses. And one of the things that I always tell people is that you know a good thing is great. You just can't overdo it. Like one of my patients said to me not too long ago. She says, "You see, I'm doing everything right, and I'm doing everything you told me to do." And then I go, "Great, let's see what you're doing." And then she says, "See, I'm taking this, 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 and this." And I go, "Wow." I says, "You're taking all this?" She goes, "Yeah." I says, "But I didn't tell you to take all this." She goes, "I know, because I want to make sure I get my vitamin D stores up to par." And so you see, what she did was overdose on a good thing. And we always have to make sure that we don't overdose on a good thing. And our body has to be able to process it. So I love coconut oil, but I know if I take too much of it, my body's not going to process it.
Right.
So you always got to keep that in mind. And so, what's a good dosage? A good dosage can be, for me, a tablespoon of every other day or something. For me, if I took 2 tablespoons every single day, I would want to take an enzyme to make sure that my body's processing that much fat.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense.
All right. So there was another question from Kanisha and family. She says, "What causes colon cancer?"
We've been talking about that for over hundreds of years. And there has been not one thing that they have determined to cause colon cancer. But we do know in all cancers, a major player to cancer is literally a lifestyle. And we have found that over and over again, that unhealthy lifestyle can contribute to colon cancer. The colon is your trash can. Everything that goes in your mouth has to be filtered through your colon. And if it's constantly being insulted with chemicals and dyes, and there's over 1,000 chemicals dumped into our food supply every single year. And I know everyone can't eat organic, and but one of the things that you have to consider is if you have any kind of cancer in your family, you have to start immediately to clean up and detox. And I know that young lady that we was just talking to feels really confused about the fact whether she should get healthy because that one person that she knows didn't make it. But there's just so many people, there's so many miracles, because when we say let food be our medicine and let medicine be our food, that's a statement that has been around for thousands of years. And it's a true statement. We just don't do it.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true. All right, so doctor, I have this question because I know someone. I won't call any names. Someone.
He said,
So
don't
as
say
it
it,
relates,
don't say it.
so as it relates to dieting, is it beneficial to diet without exercising? Because someone I know thinks
She could find over there. Someone
I know thinks that he could just exercise and then eat whatever he wants to eat, and then he'll lose weight that way.
Well, you got to remember when what's the goal here? The goal, we all would love to say the goal is to lose weight because that's a nice thing to say. And we all want to lose weight, but ultimately, that's not the goal. The goal is longevity, right?
Yeah.
Because if you lose weight, you gain it back. You lose weight, you gain it back. At the end of the day, you're going to be my age and you still want to be vibrant and healthy and running and all of those great things. But you got to remember that that only goes with health. We have 80, a lot of people don't think about this, but we have a lot of organs in our body, over 50 organs in our body. We have to sustain that. We have to feed that. We have to uh give it like good nutrients. So dieting is just one thing. When I started, it was all about 21 pounds in 21 days. And I still do that, but I have to go further than that now. It's about 21 detoxes for 21 chronic illnesses because that's what's going to keep you alive. So it's the type of diet that you do. You got to live the lifestyle in order to get to longevity. And we're getting really good at that. I mean, we weren't good at that 10 years ago, but we're getting closer and closer and closer. Look, there's doctors like me that work with allopathic doctors all over the country. So they're catching on to this thing called preventative health, and they're catching on to innovative therapies that's called natural therapies. It wasn't like that 30 years ago when I started, but it's like that today. So we have the opportunity to live a good, long, healthy life. So what does that entail? That entails good nutrients and movement. Movement. If you could call it exercise if you want, but it's movement. You got to move your body in order for the blood to circulate to those organs.
That's true. That's true. You hear that, Nolan?
You gotta move your body.
You gotta move your body. You're gonna tell on each other now.
All right. So this question is sea moss a great thing to have with your smoothies?
I love sea moss. Yes. Again, don't overdo it because it's strong. But I love sea moss, and it's good to put in there's all kinds of powerful things you could put in your smoothies. Spirulina, chlorophyll. Just do some powerful greens and just throw it in there. And, we got to stop making this thing hard. We got to make it easy. You got to just be able to get up and make a smoothie that takes 5 minutes. You just get all your things and you put it very close. When you open up your refrigerator, you should see health. You should literally see colors, health, and you just scoop it out, little bit of greens, throw it in the blender, throw some carrots in there, cucumbers, and throw a handful of other greens in there, maybe some berries, and blend it and keep it going fast. And if you want to, if you like, you grow your hair and skin, throw a little bit of collagen in there. Hello? Hi. Hello?
Doctor, can you hear us?
I lost you. I have 20% left. Does that maybe that's what happened?
Can you hear us now?
Hello?
Wait, there's something wrong.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi.
Can you hear us now?
No, she can't hear that. It's off. It's off.
Hello?
Off.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
perfect.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Something happened on our end with our connection.
Yes, I know.
Okay, well, the question was, oh, so you're saying that you love sea moss?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that. All right,
That's
so
okay.
I can't really post the questions anymore because every night on Sundays at a certain time, our connection does this. But
Yeah.
so you were saying that for sea moss, it's good to have, but not too much of it.
The phone?
Yes, not to, like I would say about a half of a teaspoon. About a half of a teaspoon's good. Because what happens is it's very strong, very alkaline, and you could develop an intolerance to it. I'm trying to plug up. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, plug up. Thanks. Okay, great. We're good now.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I see a question in the comment section. It says, I'm an individual who
Sweats excessively, especially at work. The simplest of thing I do, I sweat so hard. I was told the glands in my skin is overhydrated. I decrease my fluid intake, but I still sweat. What
Yeah.
could possibly be the cause of something like that?
There's so many causes for that. One of the things that I would suggest though is that I don't know what type of blood work he's done, but we've been pretty successful with that, determining the reason that nothing will work for him unless we determine why he's sweating. And there's so many reasons why people sweat, hyper sweat like that. So what we have to do is do some blood work for him. And also the other thing is that he's sweating out a lot of minerals. And I'm wondering if he's tired a lot.
Okay. So getting enough rest is essential, you're saying?
No, he needs minerals.
Okay.
He needs excess minerals because he's sweating. Every time he sweats, he's sweating out his minerals. So you have to be able to figure out why somebody's sweating like that.
Right. Okay. Perfect.
So he needs blood work.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. And then I think I saw a question that was asking about how often you should detox, but I think you addressed that earlier.
Well, no, I said every year for 21 days, and if you can't do 21 days, then I recommend 7 days quarterly, like spring, fall, and winter. Just do a week.
Okay.
Because a lot of people can't do 21 days, but you got to do something today. You just have to.
Right.
I'm doing a detox month, the whole month of February.
Oh,
But also we do what's called a yearly detox. I'll let you know when we do it so we can have your people come on and do it with us we do it online.
That would be nice.
We're going to be doing an at home. I'm probably going to do it. Steve Harvey's people want to do it too. So we'll have a big group online doing the detox. Okay.
So you're Steve Harvey's doctor?
Yeah. So he he loves to do the detox. He's always detoxing.
Oh, that's
Sometimes I'm
Oh,
good.
gonna
that's
tell him,
nice.
oh yeah, yeah, and he wants to do it. And I think that there's about 10 or 15 people that want to do it online. But I think the best time to do it is after the new year.
That's true.
So
That's
we'll
true.
pick maybe like the middle of January, but I'll give you time. I'll give you plenty of notice.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
All right. So I think there was like another question that says, "What is your opinion on using black seed oils?"
I love black seed oil. I use it a lot. Remember when I was saying essential fatty acids, and
Oh
how
yeah.
Yes.
powerful? Well, black seed oil is an essential fatty acid, and it's a really good one. We use it for our cancer patients. We use it for a lot of different chronic ailments. We use it for the autoimmune. That lady that was talking about her autoimmune condition, a black seed oil would be really good for her.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
So
So
as
next,
it relates to the current pandemic, I know a lot of individuals are scared at home or on the road. You got
Yeah.
people going to work, they're scared coming back home. What would be your recommendation outside of like wearing the mask and sanitizing? Are there any recommendations to help to prevent like catching the virus or
Yeah, you have to up your ante when it comes to antioxidants because one of the things that you have to remember, not all people get it, even though you ever notice why certain people never get sick, and even when they're placed in the worst situations, the, the reason why some people never get sick is because they got a really good immune system. So you have to be able to boost your immune system. Also, those same people, believe it or not, they have no problem sleeping. There could be an earthquake and they'll be asleep.
that's true.
So, it's like between sleep and nutrients and taking the right antioxidants, it goes a long way in helping your immune system. So you got to make sure that you get four different ones: vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. If
Okay.
you get an antioxidant with those four things in it, that will sort of boost your immune system. And sleep, because people don't they underrate sleep like it's like
Yeah.
poison or something. Oh no, I never sleep. Well, that's why you're always sick, because you never sleep. The only way the body rebuilds itself is while you're asleep. And then all those people who have what's called an extra chronic condition, take some CBD oil, because CBD oil also not only does it decrease the inflammation in the body, it also helps you to relax. And we're not talking about THC, we're talking about CBD oil. It's one of those things that the people get confused. They say, well, I do whatever you call it, weed all the time. No, it's not that. It's the
Mm-hmm.
oil, it's the cannabis oil from that helps to
okay.
decrease the inflammation. It's not the same thing as weed. People think that it is, but it's not. But it's very
Right.
therapeutic, and it does get the inflammation in the body down. Because COVID is another vessel disease, and we talked about that early. That we have what's called micro vessels. Over 70,000 miles of it. It's like the size of a thread, right? So if you take a white thread that you thread through a needle, that's the size, and it's all over your body.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's why people that get COVID, it goes to the lungs, because it just goes through your tear ducts, it goes through your nose, through your mouth, and that's why you have to wear a mask. Unfortunately, those people who don't realize that even when you're in, because COVID is aerosol, which basically means you can be in a room when someone that had COVID just left an hour ago and have left that virus in the room.
Well,
So
Oh,
even though you wear a mask, you still are susceptible to COVID unless you have a increased immune system and you have lower stress, and that you make sure that your body's always being protected with good nutrients and oxygenation. So going back to the micro vessels again, there's something out there that we have which is called a thymosin alpha 1, which is sort of like an immune booster. We give it to people that we know that are predisposed to stress, and they have to travel despite the fact that there's COVID and that they have a loved one in the house that's ill, then what we do is we'll give them the thymosin alpha 1 and teach them how to use it, because you have to have a little injection in your stomach
Oh.
twice a week. But you're safe and you're fine for that for at least the whole year. So we're doing some stuff like there's a lot of things you can do, you know. I don't want to delve into that, but I just want to leave everybody with that there's a lot of things you can do to prevent COVID. Mask is not the only answer. It doesn't work for everyone, because you eventually got to take that mask off. And all those people that go to restaurants and places like that, they don't know if the person that owns the restaurant sprayed the place after three people that had COVID just
Oh,
left.
yeah,
That's
true.
To go
true.
sit at the same table that someone just left.
Yep. That's so true.
So the answer is you have to take care of your immune system.
Mhm. Perfect.
That makes sense.
So like, do you recommend any over the counter like vitamins?
Um, I don't, because I realize that a lot of people are overdosing on certain things. I had a friend that overdosed on selenium because she was taking all these herbs and vitamins. She had like 7 or different bottles of stuff. All this, she
Oh,
called
wow.
it all the good stuff that she's taking. She said she was doing great. And she showed me all these bottles of all these things she was taking. And I would go, oh my God, did you not taking this, this, and this? And she says, yep, absolutely. And I said, well, now I found the answer to your problem. You don't have Parkinson's disease. You have an overdose of selenium.
Wow.
So you got to remember the safest thing, guys, the safest thing that you got to go away with. And I know that a lot of people don't want to do this, but the safest thing is called maximum nutrition in small dosages. You got to juice, because your body knows what to do with that, right? And you got to make sure that you do all of these healthy foods, because the body knows what to do with that. But if you go out and take a bunch of pills, not knowing that you have high levels of this in your body, but low levels of this, how do you know if you're taking all these vitamins?
That's true.
Oh, yeah,
It's called expensive urine, but hopefully it's called expensive urine. Hopefully you're not hurting one of your organs.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why I don't recommend that people go out and buy all these vitamins without a blood test.
Okay. That makes sense. Those were all the questions that I have, and I don't see any more so far in the comment section. So Dr. Roni, we do want to say thank you so much for, taking the time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah. On a Sunday.
Yeah. To come on here to educate us, to answer questions. We truly do appreciate you. And just before you go, do you have any like parting words, like anything that you want to say?
Well, yeah, I always tell people that the missing link usually is if you are detoxing or getting healthy in the comfort of your own home, you can pass that blessing along to your family and loved ones, because health doesn't start in a doctor's office, it starts right at home.
That's true.
That's true.
That's so true.
And I think everyone needs to take the responsibility to know that if you give your body what it needs, it will work miracles for you.
Yep.
And that starts with education, and it starts right at home, from one person to the kids, to the next person, to the parents, to the aunts and uncles and everybody. So people should just like join my membership on my website, and that's drronideluz.com. And what I do is I have videos and I have songs. I just wrote another song with a Soul Tempo Gospel Group, an inspiring song that we're getting ready to push the button on. And we just have so much information out there, because it's literally all about helping our community. It's a pleasure to talk to you, because I believe that as a group, as a community, as a family, we can fight this thing,
Yeah.
because it's literally our duty to help our kids, because another one's coming, and then another one, and then
Mhm.
another
Yeah,
one.
that's true.
Yes.
That's so true. So what I'm gonna do, guys, I'm gonna get the link from Dr. Rani and I'll post it in the description box. So for those of you who want to join the membership, you can click on the link and then join it. And remember, guys, she also has the book.
Yeah,
21. It's called 21 Days of Detox.
Yeah, it's called 21
21
pounds and
pounds and
21
Oh,
21
days, the Martha's Vineyard Diet Detox. Yeah. And that's
yes.
a great Christmas present for your loved ones too. And I have so many easy recipes in there. And it's someone asked earlier, what's the easiest way to detox? I'll tell that person to just get that book, because people have told me that just an airplane ride and they finish the book. That it's fun and it's easy,
Yeah.
and it works. It's 100%. You're going to lose 21 pounds in 21 days, unless you have a metabolic problem like that one person that we spoke with earlier. I wish
Right.
that person would reach out to me and get some blood work done so we could find out why she's not losing weight.
Right.
Okay,
And so where is your book available? Is it on Amazon?
I think it's everywhere. Someone told me it was on Amazon. Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Perfect.
everything's on Amazon,
okay, sounds good.
All
right?
right. So that I will also post in the description box. I'll communicate with Dr. Rani, and then I will add that link to the book.
And it's just November 29th, people. So if you get the book by December 1st or 2nd, you're going to get rid of 21 pounds just
That's
in time
right.
for Christmas.
Good for you. And also just send me an email, and I'll be able to answer your questions. And I will send you guys a flyer out, and so that we can have everybody join our detox group online.
That
All
sounds
right. That
good.
sounds amazing.
Okay. All
Do you
righty.
have anything else to say?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ronnie. We really
Welcome.
appreciate you coming on, spending the
It was
time
my
with us.
pleasure.
Yeah.
And
Be
And
blessed.
be you too, Dr. Rani. And guys, if you're new, just please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And thank you guys so much for spending the time with us tonight. And thank you again, Dr. Rani.
You're
we
welcome. God bless.
appreciate you.
And be
God
safe.
bless you. Have a
Bye.
good night.
Bye.
All
You
right.
too.
Take care.